Hi everyone, it's Evangeline here at Etrailer, and today we'll be taking a look at our Kuat Sherpa 2.0 2-bike rack right here on our 2020 Ford Fusion. So you have a smaller sedan, but that should not stop you from having big adventures. So when you want to take your bikes out from one place to another, you want to bring them to the trail, what you need is a bike rack kind of like this one. This is the Kuat Sherpa, which is nice, compact, portable, and still has the premium features that you would expect from a Kuat bike rack. So one of the features we'll look at is the tilt-away feature. So we have this lever right over here. You're going to want to pull that lever and just let the bike rack drop down. One thing I noticed with the Kuat Sherpa is any movement it makes is really smooth, really graceful. But you want to tilt your bike rack away if you want to access your trunk. So as you can see here on our Ford Fusion, we have plenty of clearance between our trunk and our pedals, as well as all the way up here to our handlebars, allowing us to open this up and get whatever we need. So whether we need to get our bags, our waters, our helmets, we can do so without tilting or taking our bikes off. Now, to bring this back up, you just lift it up and it snaps into place right over there. So this bike rack has a 40-pound weight capacity, which is a little bit more than your traditional bike rack that usually limit themselves to 35, which is really good because like I have our women's bike right over here, and it can't fit on those other bike racks, but it can fit on this one. What helps out with that too is our front wheel mount. So notice the way it holds onto your bike by the front wheel. Helpful if you have a women's frame like this, because then you don't need to get a frame adapter bar, but also if you have a children's bike or a step-through bike, that's how that works too. With your carbon fiber frame bikes, if you have the traditional hook that comes down, you could possibly warp or crack your frame. With a front wheel mount like this, you don't need to worry about that. Now let's take a look at the back where we have our rear wheel strap. This secures our bike by that rear wheel, and when you're ready to take your bike off, that's where you start. You press this lever and you just lift this up, and what I like to do is kind of just leave this over to the side so it doesn't get tangled up in our spokes. Then I come over here to the front and I hold on to the bike with one hand as I do so, and press this button with the other hand, lift that hook up, push that hook out, grab our bike, and just like that we are ready to go for a ride. So I'm going to leave our bike right over here so that we can take a closer look at the bike rack itself. Here we have our rear cradle. So note how that tilts back and forth to accommodate your different wheelbases. The maximum wheelbase you can accommodate is up to 47 inches. You also have an extra thick strap that feeds right into your bike rack's cradle, and it tightens down, ratchets down to secure your rear wheel. Over here in the front, we have a front wheel cradle. Now, you have those different grooves as well for your different size tires. The maximum tire width you can carry with this is up to 3 inches. This also folds down just to be nice, compact, and neat. That's the big difference between the Kuat Sherpa and the Kuet NV. This is just a really compact, minimalist bike rack. All right, we talked about our front wheel clamp earlier. This just secures your bike by your front wheel, and then it folds down as well. One pro tip is even if you don't have your bike on there, please put those straps away so they're not flopping around as you drive around. All right, whenever you have anything on your hitch, there's going to be some length added to the back of your Ford Fusion. So we'll take some measurements just to see exactly how much. Measuring from the end of our bumper, that's going to be the furthest point, to the furthest point on our bike rack right here. It sits at 30.5 inches. So whenever you're backing into your garage or trying to park into a really tight spot, don't forget that you have a bike rack as well as bikes behind you. Let's take another very important measurement for the Ford Fusion, which is going to be your ground clearance. Ground clearance is going to be measured at the end of the bike rack to the ground, and here it sits at 17 inches, but let's compare it to where the shank is. And the shank sits at only 8 inches from the ground. So since you're driving a sedan, ground clearance is super important. Whenever you go up those steep inclines, like your driveways or your hills, your front will go up, your back will go down, and you want to be very careful that you have a hitch accessory with a shank rise like this. That way your bikes sit higher up off the ground and are less likely to hit the ground. All right, we'll take a look at another feature, which is that you're not planning on taking your bikes out, but you also don't want to take your bike rack off completely. You can fold this up. To do so, we have a lever right over here. Pull that lever and push the bike rack up. So at first it looks like it comes close to the back of your Ford Fusion, but let's take a closer look and take some measurements. See where that bumper is and see where that front wheel clamp is. You have 1.5 inches of clearance, and since this is a super sturdy bike rack, it's not getting any closer than that. So no worries at all on that point. Now measuring from our bumper to where that tray is, it sits out at 6 inches. Now it goes out further here where our anti-rail knob is, and that's 12 inches away from the back of our car, which is great. Big difference compared to when this was folded down. You can see how this is a lot more compact, a lot more portable, very easy to drive around town with it in this position. With it folded up too, notice how obviously our rear window is completely visible. Our taillights sit up above the bike rack, so they are visible too. Now our backup camera sits above the bike rack, but you also have a 360-degree view around your vehicle, so pretty good view around that. You're going to slightly cover it, but still be able to see behind you. You also have your license plate, which slightly covers it depending on where you look. So if the vehicle is above you, they'll still be able to see your license plate. So let's talk about how this fits into our hitch. Now, the Ford Fusion has some different options when it comes to the hitches that you can carry on it. You can get an 1.25 inch hitch, or you can get a 2-inch hitch. I always recommend getting the 2-inch hitch, but it's nice to know that whichever hitch you do already have, you have some options when it comes to the Kuat Sherpa. So this one has the 2-inch version of the Shank. You can get the 1.25 inch version that fits right into your hitch receiver, has a pin and a lock. Now that lock is key to the cable lock that you get with this bike rack, and with just these set of keys you can lock down both your bikes and your bike rack. It's a tool-free install, so you just pop it into your hitch and tighten it down with this knob, and it extends a ball cam on the inside. So let's do the shake test just to demonstrate how that works. As we shake our bike rack, just to simulate that road sway and that vibration, you can see how I'm really just moving the car at this point because that connection is very secure. That means you have a smoother ride for your bikes overall. They're still going to move with the road as you go over bumps, but you're not getting extra rattle because of that anti-rattle knob. Okay, so my personal thoughts about this bike rack is, first, I really like how the Kuat Sherpa looks. This is the Kuat Sherpa in gray with the orange accents, but you can also get it in metallic black, or you can get it in pearl. Again, you have those different sizes. You can get either of those colors in the 1.25 inch Shank or the 2-inch version. Just make sure you get the right one for you. As for all the features we had there, you saw how much clearance we have around our trunk. If you want to take big things out of the trunk, you have full clearance to do so without having to take your bikes off. You have your locks, you have your front wheel clamp. It basically checks off all the boxes. Now, if you're looking for something with more weight capacity, maybe check out the Kuwat Transfer V2 2 bike rack. That allows you to carry more bikes, or more weight, with about 60 or 70 pound weight capacity. It also has a unique goalpost design, so it's a bit bigger, but it has an opening or a cutout in the middle. Different styles. Another middle of the road bike rack would be, let's say, the Rocky Mounts monorail. Those are really nice too. They have a similar design with a different clamping system. So you have your pros with this bike rack, you have your cons, which is not as much weight capacity as the other bike racks, but I personally think it's a great match with our Ford Fusion, which is how everything works together. So that was a look at the Kuat Sherpa 2.0 right here on our 2020 Ford Fusion. Here on our test course, we'll start by going through the slalom. This is going to show us the side-to-side action, which simulates turning corners or evasive maneuvers. Once we get to the alternating speed bumps, we'll see the twisting action. This will simulate hitting a curb or a pothole or driving over uneven pavement. Now lastly, we're going over some full speed bumps, and we can see here the up and down action, and this will just be like driving in and out of a parking lot, garage, or driveway. So we can see here how the bike rack moves with our truck.